That's what boys get when their mother abandons tradition. They gave my son a half-eaten chocolate bar for his birthday and said, "That's what boys get when their mother abandons tradition." He just stood there staring at it. The wrapper was torn. There was a bite missing. The chocolate had started to melt in his palm, but he didn't let go. Like if he held it long enough, maybe it would turn into something real. The other kids were already outside, screaming, racing each other down the street on electric scooters. Exactly the kind they'd begged for. Exactly the kind I'd heard them listing off weeks ago. Their dad was filming like it was a holiday commercial. Everyone smiling. Everyone cheering. Everyone, but my son. He stood in the middle of the room, quiet, still holding the candy. Still waiting for someone to tell him it was a joke. But it wasn't. This didn't start with the chocolate bar. It started 3 months earlier. With one simple word I'd never said to them before. No. Back in January, my cousin asked about the family fund. She called it a tradition. Said it made birthdays and holidays less stressful for everyone. That's code for, you pay for the party so we don't have to. I used to go along with it. Used to send money each month without saying a word. Then I realized something. It was never really about helping each other. It was about keeping me in line. So this year I said no. No more payments. No more fake smiles. No more pretending we were all equal in this tradition. They didn't take it well. The messages changed. The tone shifted. Suddenly I was pulling away from the family. Suddenly I was acting distant. Still, when my cousin said they were doing a birthday party for her son and invited mine to share the celebration, I agreed. Because my boy deserved to be celebrated. Even if it wasn't perfect. She told me not to bring anything. Said they'd take care of the gifts. The cake. Everything. She used the word again, tradition. Like it meant something sacred. I should have known better. The party started at noon. I helped my son get dressed that morning. Khaki shorts, beige hoodie, the shoes he loved with little stars on the side. He asked if there'd be balloons. I said yes. He made a card. Folded it himself. Decorated it with crayon and stickers. He was so proud of it. He held it the whole way there. When we walked in, no one really looked up. The living room was full of decorations. White and gold. Perfect. Stiff. The table was stacked with presents. Big ones. Wrapped in shiny paper. Names written in marker. All the other kids. But not his. He didn't say anything. Just kept holding the card. Then the cake came out. 2 tiers. Blue frosting. Dinosaurs on top. He lit up. Until they started singing. It wasn't for him. They sang for her son. Not mine. He clapped along anyway. Quietly. Like he was trying to convince himself it didn't matter. Afterward, my aunt reached under the table and pulled something out. Not a box. Not a gift bag. A chocolate bar. Already opened. She walked over to my son, handed it to him and smiled. That's what boys get when their mother abandons tradition. And just like that, they laughed. Not everyone. But enough. The kind of laugh that stings worse than silence. My son didn't laugh. He looked at the candy, then at me. Confused. Embarrassed. Hurt. But he didn't cry. Neither did I. I leaned down and whispered, "Want to help me with something in the car?" He nodded. Immediately. He didn't even ask what. He just trusted me. We walked outside together. Down the sidewalk. Past the scooters. Past the laughter. My car was parked around the corner. In the trunk were 2 wrapped gifts, a balloon and a cake I'd made myself. Blue frosting, little green dinosaur on top. And a card. To the boy who makes my world brighter every single day. Happy birthday. Love, Mom. I didn't give it to him yet. I picked up the box. He grabbed the balloon. And we walked back in. Together. The room was still loud. Someone was trying to take pictures. Someone else was pouring punch. I set the box down on the table. Looked at everyone. At the people who watched a 6-year-old get humiliated and said nothing. And I said, I brought gifts for this family. But after today you won't be getting them. Then I picked the box back up. Took my son's hand. And we walked out. No one followed us. No one said a word. But they all watched. And for the first time, I didn't care. The day after wasn't quiet. It was silent. We drove home in silence. He sat in the back seat still holding the balloon. I kept checking on him through the mirror, but he didn't say a word. Didn't ask for music. Didn't ask for cake. Didn't even ask what had just happened. I parked the car, unlocked the door, helped him out of his hoodie and shoes. He carried the cake box inside, set it on the table without opening it, then went to his room and closed the door. No tantrum, no tears, just that kind of tired kids aren't supposed to feel. I sat at the kitchen counter for a long time. I didn't open my phone, didn't scroll, didn't text. I just sat there staring at the drawer where I kept birthday candles, and tried to remember why I ever thought this year would be different. The first message came that night, from my cousin. Hey, not sure what that scene was about today. You kinda left everyone confused. Hope all's okay. I didn't answer. An hour later. If this is about the gift, it was just a joke. Don't take things so personally. The kids didn't even notice. So I said nothing. Then a third. It's not healthy to isolate yourself like this. You've been really distant lately. That one made me laugh. Quietly. The kind of laugh you let out when you realize someone truly thinks they're the victim in a situation they created. The next day my aunt sent a message too. Longer. Colder. I hope whatever you're going through you work through it soon. We've always included you and Liam even when you've made it difficult. It's not fair to punish everyone else over your personal feelings. And it certainly isn't fair to confuse a child over something so small. She ended it with a heart emoji. I almost threw my phone across the room. Here's the thing. It would have been easier if they'd just said nothing. If they let me walk away and left it alone. But they never could handle not being in control. Their version of peace was only peaceful if I was quiet, obedient, cooperative. If I sent the money. If I showed up with a smile. If I didn't make them uncomfortable. So when I finally broke that pattern, even just a little, it wasn't just seen as rebellion. It was war. On the third day the silence changed. No more texts. No more explanations. Instead, a voicemail from my aunt's number. I didn't answer, but the transcript preview popped up on my screen. You think you're proving a point, but what you're really doing is hurting the people who've always tried to support you. You're showing Liam the wrong example. He's going to grow up thinking bitterness is strength. I deleted it. Not because it didn't sting, but because if I listened to her voice I might hesitate. And I couldn't afford that anymore. That afternoon I heard Liam in his room. I peeked through the doorway. He was sitting on the floor building something out of blocks. Focused. Calm. But what caught me was what sat next to him on the rug. That same half-eaten chocolate bar. Still in the wrapper. Untouched. He hadn't thrown it away. He hadn't eaten it. He'd just set it down beside him, like a reminder. Like even at 6 years old. He knew exactly what had been done to him. I wanted to take it from him. Wanted to rip it into pieces, throw it out, burn it, erase it. But I didn't. Because maybe he needed to keep it there. Just long enough to remember. What not to accept. Later that night I opened the cake box. It still looked perfect. I sliced 2 pieces. Added candles. Set one in front of him on the table. Can I blow it out? He asked. Of course, I said. He leaned forward. Closed his eyes. And made a wish. I didn't ask what it was. I didn't need to. Because when he looked up at me, he finally smiled. Small but real. And for the first time that week, I felt like I could breathe again. But the silence didn't last. The next morning my phone buzzed before I was even dressed. A new message. Not from my cousin. Not from my aunt. This time, from my mother. We need to talk. I saw the group chat. I think you've made your point. Then another. But let's not drag this out. It's Liam's family too. Then. You embarrassed everyone. Just send an apology and we'll move on. That's when I knew they hadn't learned a thing. They weren't sorry. They were inconvenienced. I didn't reply. I didn't explain. Didn't defend. Didn't try to make them see. I just stood up, made breakfast, and sat beside my son as he told me all about his dinosaur block tower, and how one of them was the king. And for once, the only voice I needed to listen to was his. They didn't want forgiveness. They wanted control back. For a few days it stayed quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't feel like rest, but like something holding its breath. I didn't message anyone. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't open the group chat. Instead I built new routines. Simple ones. Morning cartoons. Lunch at the kitchen table. Afternoon walks. We planted a flower in an old mug on the windowsill. He named it Button. He didn't ask about the party again. He didn't bring up the chocolate. But I saw the way he watched me. Like he was waiting to see if I was going to fix it. And I wanted to. But not for them. For him. The first crack came 5 days later. My cousin sent a voice message. Not to me. To someone else who forwarded it. It was short. Panicked. If she doesn't come back to the chat, who's covering April's gifts? I already told the kids what they're getting. And just like that, the truth floated to the surface. This had never been about tradition. It was never about unity. Or family. Or inclusion. It was about budgeting me into their lives like a second income. That same night my phone lit up with another name. Not my cousin. Not my aunt. My mother. If this is about the money, you could have said something. You know we've always tried our best. Your father's insurance bill is due. He's been stressed lately. The electric company says the balance is overdue. Just this one time, can you help? Just this one time. Like I hadn't paid it last month. And the month before that. And the year before that. I didn't answer. But I didn't delete the messages either. I wanted to see how far they'd go. 3 days later I found out. A friend of mine, someone who works at the local market, texted me. Your mom was in today. Tried to buy groceries but her card declined. She left empty-handed. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I felt bad. Not exactly. But because I remembered the way she used to say, I'd rather starve than work retail like those women. Now she was standing at checkout, calculating which bags of pasta she could afford. Then came the call. My father. I didn't answer, but the voicemail came through. I don't know what this is about. You've always helped. We've always counted on you. We're family. That was the closest thing to an apology I'd heard. And still, he never said my son's name. Never once mentioned what had been done to him. What had been said. What they laughed at. All they saw was what stopped coming in. The money, the coverage, the safety net. Later that week, a card arrived in the mail. No return address. Just my name on the front, written in shaky handwriting. Inside 3 sentences. We all make mistakes, but you're taking things too far. He needs his family. I almost smiled. They still didn't get it. He didn't need them. He needed truth. He needed peace. He needed to see that silence could be safety, not punishment. So I stayed quiet. I stopped checking the chat. I stopped reading between the lines. I stopped carrying the weight of their shame like it was mine. And I watched them unravel. Another message came. This time from my cousin. We're behind on rent. I'm not saying it's your fault, but the timing isn't great. I thought you cared about the kids. That was the one that finally made my hands shake. Not because I was angry. Because it was all so familiar. The guilt. The bait. The flipping of the script. Suddenly I was the one hurting people. I was the one who needed to reflect. I was the reason their children didn't have new shoes. But not once. Not one time. Did anyone say my son's name. Not one said. What happened to him wasn't right. That night after dinner we sat on the floor with crayons and stickers. He made a card. This time for Button the flower. It said, I love you even when you're small. I didn't cry. But something inside me cracked just a little more open. Because that's what love looks like. It doesn't humiliate you and call it tradition. It doesn't punish you when you say no. It doesn't wait for you to bleed before it notices you're hurting. It stays. Quietly. Swiftly. Even when you're small. When guilt didn't work, they tried shame. They could have stopped. Could have taken the silence as the answer it was. But people like them don't like being ignored. They need a reaction. They crave it. So when the guilt didn't work, they moved on to the next tool. Shame. Started with a Facebook post. Not a private message. Not even a group text. A full public post. Paragraphs long. No names, of course. But everyone knew who it was about. It was from my mother. She hadn't posted anything in months. Didn't even really know how to use Facebook. But somehow she figured out how to write a carefully worded essay for the world to see. It breaks your heart when your own child turns their back on the family. After everything you've done, after every sacrifice. To be met with silence and cruelty is more than I ever expected. And then, some of us are now working nights just to buy groceries, while others live in big houses, too proud to help. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not angry, just stunned. Because even now, even with everything, she was still pretending the problem was me. The comments came fast. Old neighbors, church friends, distant relatives. You deserve better. So sorry you're going through this. Kids these days forget who raised them. Some even tagged me. One said, "Hope you're okay. Don't forget where you came from." As if I had. As if I ever could. But what stopped me cold, what made me feel something sharp twist in my gut, was a comment from my cousin. "She's always taken from you, Mom. Maybe now she's just showing her true colors." That's when I realized. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't grief. This was strategy. They weren't upset because I hurt them. They were upset because I stopped letting them use me. And now they were rewriting the story. Before I could tell it myself. But still I stayed silent. No comments. No reactions. No angry paragraph of my own. I didn't play their game. Until they brought up my son. Buried deep in the thread. Someone asked innocently, "How's the little one doing?" My mother replied, "Casual. Public. Sweetly cruel. We gave him a sweet little doll for Christmas. He didn't even say thank you. Looks like he's learning from his mother." That was it. That was the switch. You can paint me however you want. Selfish. Ungrateful. But you don't touch my son. Not once. Not ever. I didn't make a post. I didn't argue. I didn't rant. I sent private messages. Just a handful. To the people who commented the loudest. Simple. Calm. Factual. I gave them money for my son's Christmas gift. They spent it on other children. He got a broken used toy. And was humiliated in front of everyone. That's why I walked away. I included a photo. Not staged. Not dramatic. Just my boy. Sitting quietly. Holding that half-eaten chocolate bar in his lap. Eyes wide. Mouth tight. Trying to understand what he did wrong. By morning the post was gone. No follow-up. No apology. No explanation. Just deleted. Like it had never happened. But something else came 2 days later. A package. No return address. Just his name, written in thick black marker across the top. Inside. Brand new. High-end. Still in the box. Accessories included. Tiny. Perfect. The card. "We hope this one is better. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." No, we're sorry. No mention of the chocolate. No acknowledgement of what they did. Just damage control. He opened it, smiled and said, "This one has both legs." Then he ran off to show it to his toys. I sat there on the floor holding the box it came in. And I knew. They didn't send it because they were sorry. They sent it because they realized. They'd finally lost control. But they were wrong. They thought one gift could fix what they broke. Because it wasn't about the toy. It was about what he learned that day. What I learned. That silence speaks louder than begging. And walking away. Really walking away. Makes people panic more than any speech ever could. They weren't sorry. They were spiraling. After the gift arrived they went quiet again. Not because they'd changed. But because they were waiting. Waiting for me to message. To say thank you. To break the silence. I didn't. And when nothing came from me, they panicked. First it was a message from my cousin. "The boys have been asking why you're not around. They miss you. Can we talk?" Then another hours later. "I know things got weird. But we're still family. Let's get past it." Still nothing about my son. Still no apology. Then came the one line that said everything. "You've made your point. Can we get back to normal now?" Normal. Where I paid. Where they smiled. Where my son was invisible. No thanks. The next day my father called twice. I didn't answer. But I listened to the voicemail. His voice was low. Unsteady. "The mortgage is behind. The bank is calling. If you're still angry I get it. But we're in trouble. Just thought you should know." No mention of what they did. No "we're sorry." Just fear. Fear that the machine I'd been fueling for years had finally stopped running. And it had. Because I wasn't the same anymore. Before I would have sent the payment quietly. Avoided conflict. Told myself it wasn't worth the fight. But now. I sat with it. I let the consequences fall where they belonged. A friend sent me a photo. My mother. Working behind the counter at a gas station. Hair pulled back. Uniform vest. Head down. She used to laugh at women like that. Said retail was for people who didn't make smart choices. Said her daughters would never need to work like that. But there she was. Folding scratchers and scanning soda bottles. Because the extra money I used to send was gone. Not delayed. Not paused. Gone. Then came the email. From my father. No greeting. No explanation. Just a screenshot. A final notice. Red banner. Disconnection scheduled. The number circled in bold. A bill I used to pay without thinking. He didn't say a word in the message. Just sent the screenshot. Like that would be enough to trigger the old reflex. It didn't. The next week my cousin showed up at my door. No warning. Just stood there with her arms crossed. I stepped outside. Closed the door behind me. She started talking fast. You've made your point. My husband is burned out. He's picking up extra shifts. The boys had to drop out of sports. We're all struggling. She looked me in the eye and said, "You're really going to let us fall apart just to prove a point?" I didn't flinch. I told her I wasn't proving anything. I was just stepping back. From the lies. From the manipulation. From the rewriting of reality. I told her, "You don't get to humiliate my son. And then expect me to pay for next year's cake." She stared at me like she couldn't believe I said it. Then asked, "Do you still have the other gifts?" I told her exactly where they went. A shelter. The same one I used to volunteer at. Back when my mother called it a waste of time. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then finally, "You're starting to enjoy this, aren't you?" I didn't answer. But she wasn't wrong. Not in the gloating way. Not in the petty revenge kind of way. But in the way people feel. When they've been crushed for so long. They forget what standing tall feels like. And then, suddenly, they're standing. And they don't want to sit back down. That was me. For the first time, I was breathing clean air. And they could feel it. A few days later, the real unraveling began. My father's car was repossessed. My mother's credit card declined at a store downtown. She left red-faced without groceries. A friend of mine was working that day. Told me she looked furious. Not sad. Not embarrassed. Furious. Because when they lose control, they don't grieve. They rage. Then came the message from my cousin. 4 paragraphs. Blaming me for the tension in her marriage. Said her husband was exhausted. Trying to make up the money I used to send. Said I was hurting innocent people. Then, "Your silence is cruel. You've made your point. Come back to your family." But I had already come back. To my family. Me. And the little boy who smiled. When I finally gave him something no one else ever had. Respect. This time the silence was mine. And I chose it. It could have ended there. With panic. With begging. With calls left unanswered and bills unpaid. They could have taken the hint. Could have sat with the silence. Could have finally learned what it meant to be left out. But they didn't want to understand. They wanted control back. So when guilt and shame didn't work, they tried to rewrite everything. Another post. Not from my mother this time. From someone else. A distant cousin. Worded like concern but designed to provoke. It's sad when people fall apart over something so small. Family is worth more than pride. We all make mistakes. Then the tags came. Photos from birthdays, holidays, me as a kid. As if history somehow excused the present. As if reminding me I belonged would cancel what they did. It didn't. Then they moved on to my friends. One messaged me confused. "Your mom called. Said she was worried about you. Said you've been distant. That something might be wrong." Another forwarded a message from my cousin. "I think she's not well. She's cut everyone off. Maybe someone should check on her." They weren't just trying to pull me back. They were trying to make me look unstable. But the part that finally broke whatever sympathy I had left was buried in an old thread. Someone had asked how my son was doing. My mother replied, "He didn't even say thank you for the gift. Looks like he's learning from his mother." There it was. The knife slipped in with a smile. They weren't done hurting him. Even now. I didn't explode. Didn't scream. I sent 5 messages. Short, direct, factual. I told the real story. What happened. What they did. What they said in front of a child. I included one photo. Him holding that candy bar. Looking small. Looking alone. That was all it took. The post disappeared. The comments dried up. The whispers stopped. And for the first time, they didn't replace the lie with a new one. They said nothing. Then 2 days later, a package arrived. No label. Just his name. Inside. A full set of toys. Books. A handmade card. A gift so perfect it almost felt fake. Then another box. For me, a necklace. Not store-bought. Something I'd mentioned in passing 2 years ago. Rose gold. Tiny, off-center diamond. Something I once said reminded me of strength. There was no note. No explanation. But I knew where it came from. So I didn't reply. Didn't send thanks. Didn't text anyone. But I looked at that necklace longer than I should have. Because a part of me, a very small, tired part, still wanted to believe they meant it. Not as manipulation. Not as cleanup. But as something real. Then came the message. From my father. Just one line. I think I finally understand why you walked out. I didn't reply. But I saved it. A week later, a card arrived in the mail. Handwritten. Blocky, uneven letters. We made a mess of things. I'm sorry. I know we can't undo it. But I hope you'll let us try. Signed, Mom. No blaming. No conditions. No manipulation. Just that. It almost made me cry. Almost. But I needed more than a card. A few days later, 2 boxes were left on my porch. One addressed to me. One to him. No delivery label. Hand-delivered. Inside his. A custom bedspread. Books. A music box that played You Are My Sunshine. Inside mine. A note. Not written. Typed. A payment confirmation. $500. Labeled. For Liam. Nothing else. No heart emoji. No from. No explanation. Just repayment. The first one I'd ever received. That night another card arrived. Handwritten. His name on the front. We're sorry for the chocolate. You deserved better. We'll do better. Signed, Grandma and Grandpa. He read it. Nodded once. Said, okay. Just like that. 3 years old. And already more emotionally mature than half the people who raised me. Easter came. They waited. Messages buzzed all morning. Photos. Pig hunts. A basket with his name on it. I didn't go. Didn't reply. Didn't feel guilty. They had to earn peace. I wasn't handing it over like candy anymore. And when the silence returned, the real silence, it didn't scare me. Because this time, it was mine. And I chose it. We planted flowers. Made pancakes on Sundays. Drew birthday cards for each other. No strings. No shame. No broken traditions pretending to be love. Just us. Just peace.